Hey everyone, I am the Chosen One Legend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kye, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome back to the BunchaJokahs podcast, where we are here for our 1 year anniversary video, answering your video game related questions. And I've said it enough this past month, but damn, a year already.
It's flown by pretty quickly, hasn't it?
It really has, and I've mentioned before, we've done so much more than I ever expected to get done in the first year. Gameplay series, interviews, a bunch of other mess, all the great stuff. And of course, a big thank you to all of you who have watched us throughout that time. And of course to you and Sam for having not quit yet. There's always time, but
Be nice.
no freedom for you. Maybe after this is done you can rest, but no. So...
Yeah, no, it's been good though. We've definitely done a lot more than I initially expected, because at first I just thought, yeah, we'll just randomly talk about things each month and that'll be pretty chill, but sort of grown into a fair bit more than that at this point, so it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm bored, want to do a podcast, but it turned out good in the end, so
Yeah.
Can't complain. But
Every time someone plays Xenoblade 1, we just get free advertisement too, so it works out.
Exactly. This is the genius marketing scheme, not just a name we came up with in a few seconds. But let's go with genius marketing. But that has, of course, led us here to this video. So we've asked you all for your questions about anything video gaming related, and thankfully we've got a good selection. We have 21 questions here to get through. If you're ready to start them up, Kye.
Yeah, so just to preface this, Matt, you're the one who's received all the questions, so you've seen all of them already. I have not seen any of them. I'm going into this completely blind, so we'll see how that pans out. It's basically like every other video. You know what you're doing, and I'm just yeah, we'll run with it. Let's go.
Well, know what you're doing is a bit of a loose term, but I have seen the questions, yes. So
Okay.
I've tried not to think about them too much, but it should be interesting here. And I should just clarify, so we're just going to go through these straight. If I don't say who it's from, they submitted it anonymously. And if I do say who it's from, I'm just going to use whatever name you put down on the form. So if I know your real name, I haven't forgotten who you are, just sticking with that. Or maybe I have forgotten who you are, my memory's not what it used to be. But...
Good cover.
always got it in, well prepared. But let's just start things off with our first question. And this one's for you, Kye. It says,
Okay.
Kye, will you stream Xenoblade Chronicles X?
Oh, God. I feel like I should have seen this one coming, to be honest. Who was that one?
You really
from?
should have. It's anonymous. I mean,
man.
they did send it to me, so I know who it is, but I legally can't tell you. So, you know how it is.
So, will I stream it? Well, I guess to answer the question, I have streamed it before.
True.
Twice. One time was not too long ago, but I've said it many times before. I'll say it again. I will not be streaming it on the Wii U for a long-term option. I'm gonna be basically if it gets a remake or a sequel on the Switch, something like that, then absolutely I'll play through the whole game. I'll do everything in it. Because I feel like especially with the multiplayer stuff, there's a lot of potential to have a lot of fun with that. So if it does come to the Switch and all that, yes, I will. But with its current standing on the Wii U and the issues it has, and the fact that it's pretty hard to stream using the Wii U compared to the Switch, I will not be streaming it on the Wii U. But if it gets a sequel or remake on the Switch, then that's when I'll play Xenoblade X on stream.
There we have it. Definitive edition answer there. And to be fair, I can't blame you, because I'm also waiting to replay it till it eventually comes to Switch. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We've got another one day. We've got another Xenoblade question up next. This one's from Solid Link. Thank you for the question. He asks, if you could get Monolith Soft to make a new Xenoblade game, would it be a follow-up to Xenoblade 2, Xenoblade X2, or a new spin-off? Which is an interesting question, and I think I know both of our answers.
Wait, do we?
Oh,
I don't really know.
You're not sure?
Interesting. I guess a Xenoblade 2... I don't know about a sequel, though. I'm guessing that's what you were thinking.
Well, it's interesting the way that he's phrased it. He didn't say Xenoblade 3. He specifically said a follow-up to Xenoblade 2. So
Yeah, like a
could
follow
that?
up to Rex's story, or
Yeah, I guess whether
even
that's
that.
Xenoblade 3 or not, because it could. I don't know. They could go Final Fantasy and do like Final Fantasy 10 2. I don't think they would, but it's possible.
Yeah.
That's what I would want most anyway. I'm just in love with the characters in the world of Xenoblade 2. I'm always going to ask for the main story-driven experience. That's just for personally. That's where my main interests lie. But I will say, X2 is probably the most deserved one to come next. I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Although I would be looking forward to like a Xenoblade 3 that, is in line with 1 and 2. I was of the opinion of this before Xenoblade 2 was ever announced, and I'm kind of with this opinion on both 1 and 2. But I'm kind of happy with how the stories both ended. Like, I can see potential for some new stuff, especially with like the Fog Beasts in Future Connected possibly being an indicator. Like, we could see something with Rex and that following the events of Xenoblade 2. I don't want to like spoil too much. But I was kind of happy with the resolution. I would really like a follow up to Xenoblade 2 that isn't like a direct follow on, like, following Rex again and like precisely after what they've done.
Yeah.
But if it were to take place with the same, like world type and the same sort of themes, kind of like Xenoblade 2 compared to 1, like, was a different game entirely with a different world, but it followed a few similar themes. I would be happy with that kind of follow up the most. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be what I want most as well. I think sort of its own. Maybe it seems like it's its own world and its own thing, but later on you see the connections. Maybe it's sort of like Xenoblade 1 and 2 has, but maybe the connections are a bit more blatant or set in a little bit earlier. But
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I would most like. But a new spin-off is an interesting one because I mean we do know that Monolith Soft are supposedly working on a project. There's been like a few sort of art released from it, and that's not necessarily a Xenoblade spin-off, but at this point I wouldn't be surprised if it gets the same treatment X does, where they're like, okay, Xenoblade makes money now, stick the Xenoblade name on it. So and if that's the case, that could be, I'm interested to see what that is, and that could be their next project.
Well, I suppose a likely spin off would be Xenoblade Warriors, which
Oh
would be
yes.
really fun. That'd be really, really fun, and I'd look forward to that. And again, like Xenoblade X2 would also be really nice. But I feel like having another one in that mainline series just trumps all of it because of how
Yeah,
good it is.
definitely. I think
All of them would be liked, though.
absolutely. So main game Xenoblade 2 follow up for me, but please give us anything. Just shove Xenoblade down our throats. I mean, we've already got our Xenoblade mention in, and there's going to be more. I can assure you in this video. So,
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat to you there.
well, that's our third question here. We actually got the same question from two people. First of all is Gabe, who asks, what game or series has piqued your interest in the past few months that you want to try but haven't had a chance to play it yet? And Draconian Valley asked the same thing. Are there any franchises or series you guys are interested in that perhaps you haven't gotten around to playing yet? So thank you for the questions. What are your thoughts, Kai?
It would definitely appease people if I said something along the lines of Dragon Quest XI's, I'm sure. But,
Suck up.
do you have like a prepared answer for this so I can think about it, or?
Yeah, a little bit of one.
Okay.
Mine's probably a little bit too broad of an answer, but really for me, it's anything on the Sony spectrum of games. Because I haven't had a Sony console since the PS2. And there's a whole catalogue of games that I've missed out on and I want to try out. Most noticeably being Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's the game that I most want to get that I haven't got. And the moment I can get my hands on the PS5, I'm going straight for it. But I guess that's also a bit of a cheat answer because it's not a new series because I have played other games in the series. So I guess for an entirely new series, perhaps something like the new Ratchet and Clank game really appeals to me. That looks like a great technical showcase of the PS5.
Okay.
So, voice breaks aside, I'm sorry about that. That's my answer.
Okay. I was actually thinking Final Fantasy VII Remake too because I think I said it a while back, but I've got it downloaded because for some reason the PlayStation Plus or Gold or whatever it is, they just had it for free as a download.
Yeah.
So I can just like download it and play it on the PS4 whenever. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that, and maybe not the franchise as a whole because Final Fantasy has like a lot of games, but
That's for sure.
You know, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what like the new era of Final Fantasy has to offer with its remakes, and hopefully that will be a good one. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. Again, I'm really looking forward to Triangle Strategy, but
yeah,
that's about it.
Well, I mean, the next step after that, Kai, is that you start playing Final Fantasy 14 and you lose your soul to the game. So it's a slow, slow decrease from there.
I've heard stories.
Oh, that was a good one, Bo. Thank you. And our next question, quite simply, from our friend BeMoreDuck. He was on our last podcast, so check that out if you haven't. But he asks, favourite Pokemon?
Ooh, okay.
Good. Nice one. Now, I'm not much of a Pokemon player. And, you see, this is really... So I don't have a really good answer. And I know this is really a meme answer. But come on, Bidoof. I just love Bidoof. Because it's so dumb, that's why I love it so much. So right. I'm just gonna say Bidoof. No regrets.
Okay.
Also most powerful Pokemon. That's canon.
Interesting one. Okay.
You probably have a better answer.
Well, I don't know if I have like a specific favorite. But because there's so many of them, it's hard to just like choose a specific one.
Yeah.
I just remember some in particular. I like. I think Jolteon's very good. Like Eevee would probably be like the cop-out answer, to be honest, because everyone's favorite Pokemon is Eevee at this point. But it's so good.
Yeah.
I'm just checking actually on my phone because I made. It must have been like 4 or 5 years ago. I made lists for each generation of what my favorite Pokemon were. And I'm just scrolling up in my list because it's really old. Okay, from 2017, God.
Oh, wow.
And basically all the top ones are all like the evolutions and stuff. So it's very hard to say, personally, to be honest. But a couple ones to point out, I suppose, would be like... let's see. Decidueye is sick. Zoroark. I think Crustle is a good one that I actually like a strange amount.
I'm just going to smile and wave and pretend I know who all these are. Yes, Pokemon.
Crustle is Gen 5. Again, a lot of the evolutions. The evolutions are definitely like top tier ones. So yeah, I wouldn't say I have like a specific favourite, but those are a couple of them. Just those guys are pretty cool.
Yeah, good set. And we've got another question from BeMoreDuck next, and he asks, what is your favourite gaming moment related to the Switch? That's a question, and it's a hard one to narrow down. I can sort of think, some of the obvious ones, playing Breath of the Wild for the first time, that's a massive moment.
I hated my first experience playing Breath of the Wild.
Oh, really?
It's my favourite game gameplay-wise nowadays, yeah, now it's my favourite game gameplay-wise. But back and the first night that I played it, I hated it because I was trying to do that one with the Goblin camp on the Great Plateau that had a blue Goblin. I didn't know how dodging worked at the time because I skipped through the tutorials, didn't realise it was going to be a hard game at the start. Anyway, run over, sorry.
So basically you needed to get good is the story there.
Yeah, and then I did.
But that is a Breath of the Wild in general is of course a big gaming moment. I guess to go a little bit more specific, there's things like playing Smash Online for the first time, or when the new DLC fighter releases and everyone's in the arena together. There's I don't know why this always comes to me, but Fire Emblem Three Houses I really enjoyed, and that particular mission, I can't remember what it's called, where the three houses fight together the second time.
Battle of Eagle and Lion, like revisited or whatever they call it.
Something like that. That entire fight was badass.
It was very cool, yeah.
That was one of my favourite moments in that game. So it's hard to narrow down. Do you have any good ones, Kai?
I mean, we can't talk about best gaming moments on the Switch without mentioning the Ludo games. Like, come on now.
Okay, you got me there. I mean, I haven't played them. I don't own Ludo. I'm not as fortunate, but
You've witnessed them, though.
I have, and it's a glory to behold.
I don't. It's like a serious answer. I don't really know off the top of my head, but just a lot of the stuff in Breath of the Wild was very good, particularly near the end. Playing Torna, to be honest, for the first time, Torna was really good.
Oh yes, yeah.
I'm not sure what else.
And by playing Torna, you mean crying excessively for a few hours,
Yes.
basically. That was a good highlight. Yeah. I also think, and I'm not just saying this to make you play the game, there's a particular moment in Astral Chain. It's a particular chapter involving a fight with a character called Jenna. That's all I'll say, not to spoil things. But that entire section of the game is one of the massive highlights of it for me, which always stands out as one of my favourite game memories on the Switch. So there's, and I have to mention Xenoblade 2 as well, like the main game, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I'm just listing games I like, but you know, it's hard to narrow down. That was a good question, though.
Here's one I just thought of actually. Is
Oh, yeah?
I've got a screenshot of this on the Switch, but on Xenoblade 2, defeating the Relentless Arduan in Torikoth.
Oh,
Getting
yeah.
9. I had 8 orbs on it. That was the first time I'd ever got 8 orbs on an enemy, and then it was the first time I ever did like 999, like basically maxed out damage in a chain attack.
Yes.
That was a good one.
I haven't got maxed out damage, I don't think, but I beat that for the first time just like a month ago, actually, on my old save file, just playing randomly just because I was bored. So it is satisfying. It's always good. I think
Also
in
getting
general,
Cosmos. That's...
Oh, I have yet to just rub it in, Kai. Just rub it in. But I think actually one more Xenoblade 2 moment. I'll end this one off here with this. Is the very first moment when the gameplay of Xenoblade 2 clicked for me, which was when I was in Uriah, in this little section on the way to the main stomach, where the wolf enemies, the wolves, is it? They continuously respawn. And
summon reinforcements.
Yeah,
is that
and
right?
they kept going, but it made me playing that one fight for like 30 minutes of them constantly respawning. The gameplay just clicked with me, so that was a good moment.
Fair play.
But yeah, so many, so hard to narrow down. We could do an entire video on that, really.
That's true.
Good question, though. Our next question was asked by both Gabe and Sam, the one and only graphic designer, who asked, if you could get another voice actor that you wanted to interview, who would it be? And on that note,
I feel like Sam's asked us this question before.
I think he's just using this Q&A to try and get us to do more stuff, but I respect that, Sam. And the Wendy's girl also asked, are any other celebrity guests planned? It's okay, I'll keep it a secret. Well, we have actually got to confirm...
if it's being kept a secret, that's...
we actually have John Cena coming on the podcast. It's been in the works for a long time. But other than that, which is just an obvious one, we don't have any planned at the moment. We definitely intend to have more guests from our community on, and we might do more interviews down the line, but we don't have any specific plans yet. But as for who we'd want to be on there, I think there's one obvious one, Kai. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Go for it.
I think we are just Mr. Xenoblade 1 Screamer himself.
Oh, yes.
Sam Brett. No.
Well, maybe one day, he voiced Pebble in Xenoblade 2.
That is true. Yeah. But no, I think like we will probably do like more voice actor interviews in the future and those sorts of things. But we don't have any specific plans. It's more so just like if the opportunity presents itself. For example, the Sean Chiplock one, we saw like we saw his DMs were open and that he could potentially have been in Age of Calamity, of course. So we were like, well, that's a great opportunity. Sky's one was just perfect timing because we'd always been intending to do that one. So
and we had no clue. We recorded it before the Smash reveal, which was ridiculous timing. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one, which I don't think it's ever going to happen, but given the name of our podcast, Jay Taylor, the voice of Ryan, could you imagine? That would just be too perfect. That would be
crazy. That would be insane.
I don't think he doesn't seem to have much of an online presence, so I don't think that's one that would be realistic. But if it could, I think that would be the dream. Otherwise, I don't really have any favourite voice actors. Any of the Xenoblade cast, any of the Fire Emblem Three Houses cast. Anyone like that in that sort of sphere of voice acting would be awesome to have on. So just take whoever we can get, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
You got any specific...
volunteers? Then let us know, I guess.
Just, if you're watching this video, which I'm sure is peaking on YouTube, trending all the way, you can just contact our agent Sam. We apologise for his behaviour, but he's all right. So, but our next question here is from JackAttack1291. The numbers are very important. He asks,
that's the graphical artist guy on Reddit.
Yes, it is. You know, that's our next interview. There we go. We're 2 questions down. But he asks, if you could play one Nintendo game for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
If you could only choose one to play?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's the only one you can play for the rest of your life.
Well, it's gotta be Ludo. No, okay.
I mean, Clubhouse Games has 50 games on it, so you know.
That's true. That would be
not just Ludo.
What do you think?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, probably the game that I play, or definitely the game I play the most is Smash. But I feel like if I played it just on its own without other games, I would just start to rage and get salty. I think as much as I play Smash, I feel like it needs to be a supplement to other games, not the only game you play. So I don't know. I guess something like Fire Emblem Three Houses. Carl's proven that you can do several runs of that game, so.
Several is an understatement.
Yeah. Xenoblade would be an obvious pick, you know, because we love it so much, but I don't know if it has as much replayability to it. What are you thinking?
I think I'd almost certainly go for Breath of the Wild, just because of the sheer volume that game holds.
Yeah, that's a good answer, actually. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Of course, I've already 100%ed the game before, but like, I would be able to do it again, and like, because of how many different Korok seeds there are and that sort of thing, like, there's so much more that could be done still. Not even to mention, like, speedrunning and stuff as well. Like, I've never really got into the Breath of the Wild speedrunning myself to like, do, but I've watched a lot of it, and I feel like if there was only one game I could ever play, Breath of the Wild just has the potential to keep going and going, because you could learn things like speedrunning tactics, and the amount of variety you could have with like challenging yourself in different ways for different runs is like, I don't know, just the amount of variety is unmatched. I mean, the fact it's been like, how long's it been? 4 years, and people are still learning new things, like rolling on barrels was a thing that came out recently that you can do. And I had no clue that was a thing, so it's definitely one of the games that will keep you entertained for the most amount of time. It's a good answer. Our next question here asks, if you could bring any game from another console or PC to Switch, what game would it be?
Oh, do we even need to ask?
Go on then, Kye.
It would obviously be Inazuma 11 Go Chrono Stones. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Xenoblade X. Xenoblade X.
Yeah, I think that's Xenoblade X is the big one, but I think should we to make it a bit more interesting? Let's say not Nintendo, so not a past Nintendo game.
Right. Okay.
And also, I guess to bring it to Switch, so not a remaster either, but like just a game that you could just bring to Switch.
I'd need more time to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some obvious ones that I would like. We've already mentioned Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's not possible. If it could happen, if somehow, say Switch Pro, for example, they could port that over to there, that would be a nice one to have. But
what games do I own? Oh no.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm just thinking of other consoles games I want to play. Spider-Man, PS4, I'd love to play. Jedi Fallen Order, I love my Star Wars games, so pretty much any of the Sony big ones that are not ever going to happen. It's not a realistic answer, but they didn't specify that, so I'm going to count it anyway.
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh man.
No, okay. No, I think I'd probably say, like, if it was a non-Nintendo one to go onto the Switch, just as a direct port, probably just Plants vs Zombies, like straight up just the original. Because I know already, like, Battle for Neighborville, I'm pretty sure is on the Switch.
Yeah.
Because it got announced at the last Direct. But yeah, just the original. Like, it's very good. There's like improved versions that have still been on other consoles, and that sort of thing. And like it's fairly simple, but it's a good game. So yeah, why not? It's a classic.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can also get maybe some of the collections of older games would be nice to have on Switch. We've got some stuff
Yeah.
like Borderlands, but I know there are some rumors or people wanting stuff like the Tomb Raider collection on Switch, or maybe since like there's a collection of rare games, including Banjo-Kazooie and that, which is on Xbox. And seeing as
That'd be
Xbox and Microsoft have a good relationship with Nintendo, I could see something like that coming to Switch. So, I mean, people want Game Pass in general to come on Switch, and I could see that happening sometime, maybe. So, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Next question. Here's a good one. Who is better, Zeke or Zeke?
It'd have to be Mr. Von Genbu, bringer of chaos, surely. Like, yeah.
I pose you a different answer. Turters.
Interesting proposal. That's
Otherwise,
not one of the
answer's
options.
You know what, Kai?
I'd have to go with Zeke.
I'm going to oppose you and say Zeke, but I like what you're thinking, so...
Controversial opinion.
Could go either way, really.
Yeah.
Next question, I love this one. Who would win, an army of Rhine or an army of Kino and Nene?
Interesting.
I'm picturing like an army of, say, 100 Rhines fighting 50 Kinos and 50 Nenes. That's what I'm sort of picturing it as.
Man.
Okay.
What do you think?
Oh, well, I'm kind of thinking like... I mean, Kino is basically plays like... No, sorry, Nene is basically Rhine, her arts. She plays the same as Rhine. So, not only have you got 50 of Rhines, but then you've got Kino, who plays like Sharla, you've got healing. So you're not just a tank, you've got an army of tanks and healers. So I kind of feel like they might have the advantage based on that. Whereas the army of Rhines would have no way to heal. But of course they would be doing more damage if the 50 Nenes couldn't protect the 50 Kinos well enough. So...
Interesting. I mean, I think I'm with you there, is that you've essentially got 100 Rhines versus 50 Rhines and then 50 healers.
Yeah.
So... I don't know, because the Rhines could just, like, rush. They could just go for a rush and then the healers are less effective, you know?
Well,
if they can get the heals off. This all comes down to the effectiveness of the Kinos.
Yeah, can they tank the aggro so that the healers aren't getting the aggro? If they can do that long enough...
That's what we need to know. Yeah.
This is a good question.
I mean, but all we know is that both of them would lose to 1 billion lions, of course. Because there's just so many of them, you know.
That is, a billion's a large number, you know, so...
Yeah, it's a big number.
But final answer, Kai. What's your final answer? Who are you sticking with here?
Just checking the timeline of events. Where are these Ryans and Kinos and Nenes from in the chronology of Xenoblade Chronicles? Is it after the events of Future Connected?
I suppose so. Yeah.
I think I'd have to say...
We're not having Ryan fighting baby Kino and Nene. That would be cruel.
Okay, I was gonna say. I think I'd have to say 50 Kinos and 50 Nenes on the basis that they are apt enough to, you know, tank the initial rush.
I'm gonna stick with you there, and
let's also think of the moral implications as well from this. That's
true.
You know,
I'm gonna stick with you, and it's not just because Sophie would kill us if we said otherwise. I promise.
True.
But let's move on to our next question, which asks, it's from Jose. So thank you, Jose. He asks, what game or series would you like to see get the remake or remaster treatment, or brought back for a sequel? Which is a good question. We've kind of tackled this before. We had a video talking about our most wanted remasters, and one of my most from that was Skyward Sword, which is coming, thank goodness. But have you got any others, Kai? I think I know what you're going to say first.
Have we mentioned Xenoblade X yet? I don't think we have.
Xenoblade X? What's that? I've never heard of that before.
No. Okay, so just to check, the question was about like what remake or sequel for the Switch?
Yeah, remake or sequel. I mean, it doesn't even say for the Switch, but probably for the Switch, knowing us.
Yeah. Okay, well, Xenoblades aside, it's already been announced, but I really want to see the new Inazuma 11 game, Great Road of Heroes, come to fruition, because they've announced it and they've said it's going to come out eventually, but it's still very shaky on the progress. So I hope that one, that sequel ends up happening and it ends up being good. So that'd be my answer.
I think I'm pretty much going to stick with what I said in the last video. I want to see Sonic Heroes come on. I think that would be a really fun one, and the Sonic.
That'd be hype.
It's been quiet on the Sonic front for a while, so that would be a nice giving the fans something at least. But also one that I believe you mentioned last time, Kai, Rhythm Heaven. Give us a sequel or a remake on the Switch.
Actually, I was reading about that, and the creator of the series has said on Twitter that they'd also be down for a Rhythm Heaven game on the Switch, but they want to see support for it. They need to prove that there's support before it can be done. So you got to show that support on Twitter to make it happen, I suppose.
Just chant out the I supposes all over Twitter, make it happen.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
All the way. I mean, you'll probably find out next month. I think Kye and I have both been playing some Rhythm Heaven recently, so would love to see more. But thank you, Jose. And of course, if you want to hear a bit more on our thoughts, we did do a video a while back, so if you haven't, check that video out. But our next question, I didn't write who this from. I feel like it might have said it was from Tom, but it might not be. But the question is, if you could add any Star Wars character into Lego Skywalker Saga, who would you add? And for Kai, just a general any character, because they're assuming you don't know Star Wars, which is probably right. So,
repeat the question again?
The question is, if you could add any Star Wars character into Lego Skywalker Saga, who would you add? But for you, Kai, you could just put
they not have all the characters in it anyway?
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, there's going to be a lot of characters, but, there's always... Star Wars has so many characters. We're talking books, comics, movies, TV shows. They're not going to catch everyone. And we haven't really seen the rest yet.
Gonk Droid, obviously.
Gonk Droid better be there, or I'm not buying it.
That's the hope for me, is that I'd really like to see that, and then... what's it called? The Super Gonk mode or whatever it's called.
Yes, Super Gonk.
That would be very fun as a thing to do in that game.
I'm with you there.
Because also Ki-Adi-Mundi, because he's got a massive head. That's the other one.
Lego Ki-Adi-Mundi's great, especially the old one where it's literally just a massive Lego cylinder as his head.
He's cylindrical. He's so cylindrical.
So good. But I think for me, I mean, the obvious one, if you know me, given my profile picture on Discord and Twitter, it would be Kanan, who's one of the main characters from Rebels. He's a Jedi, he's awesome, and we know that it's getting DLC packs for some of the TV shows, like The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch, but we don't know if it's getting any packs for Rebels and Clone Wars, so we don't know if these characters will be in the main game or not. But that would be my most wanted character, because he's my favourite Star Wars character in general. And they could potentially have young Kanan in there somehow, which I won't specify because that's kind of spoilers, but that's some way I could see that happening. But definitely Kanan. Or if not, Salacious Crumb. You know who he is, and he's a god. So
do I?
That's basically it. You know who he is, Kai. Of course. You're the world's biggest Star Wars fan. You went to see Episode 9 midnight release, didn't you?
Yeah, I loved watching the rise of Plagius. Yeah.
I respect the fact you even know that name, so I'll give you that one.
Well, I've heard the tale of him, so
it's not a story the Jedi would tell you. But before we go down that rabbit hole, our next question is from Gabe again, who asks, "What is the hardest game you've played and completed until now?" Which is a good question. So not just played, but completed as well. What are you thinking, Kai? Yeah. Do you have a good answer? I've got one if you want to think.
I think I've got one just off the top of my head. Dicey Dungeons is one that I've played a lot of, and a lot of it's of course RNG because it's just about dice rolls and whatever. But some of the harder missions, and especially getting some of the harder achievements too, they can be real tough, especially if the luck's not on your side there. They can be really difficult. So I'd probably say Dicey Dungeons off the top of my head. So
no, that's a good one. For me, it would be 100% Celeste. because I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I'm an idiot who didn't just beat the main game, which is already quite difficult. I beat the B sides and the C sides, and then the bonus chapter 9, which they released. I think it's 9. Which, I mean, that chapter alone took me 6 hours to go through across a few sittings. It was ridiculously difficult, and on the C sides, just one screen alone took me 3 hours for one of the missions. But
3 hours.
yeah, I just sat there plugging at it. But the thing was, I didn't like rage or get angry once, because it's so well designed that it's so satisfying when you get it right, and it's never your fault. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've raged at a game after not beating it in 5 minutes if it's like badly designed. But I could go at this for 3 hours just because it was so tight platforming. It was so good. So it wore me down though. It did wear me down. So that was 100% the most difficult game I've beaten. But I never have to do it again now, unless I decide to be an idiot, which is possible because I am one. But good question.
Speedrunning moment. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my speedrun of the main game down to like just over an hour, which isn't bad. I think the actual. It could be better. I think the people have done 100% in like 30 minutes or something. So
that's great.
Always maybe Celeste should be my game that I play for the rest of my life. That will definitely do something to me. But our next question here is from Anonymous. They ask, who is your favourite or current favourite Smash Bros character / main, or top 3 if that is too difficult to pick one?
Right.
I think we kind of know each other's a bit, but Kye, who are you gonna say?
In terms of my like actual gameplay mains, the ones I've played the most by far is Bowser.
Yep.
And then secondaries of Marth, who used to be my main, and Terry, who I would commit to and have as my main, except he doesn't really work online very well because it's
that's
precise
fair.
inputs. But yeah, those 3 are cool. I like heavies, so Bowser's good. Marth just has a very spammable F smash for me because I'm a filthy just F smash spammer.
I've seen the evidence.
And then Terry's is like, he's very technical. He's very hard to play, so I don't do it online. But he's a real fun one if you can get those bits down. So
yeah,
those would be my 3 for actual like gameplay playing as them often.
Yeah, I guess my mains. I mean, to be honest, nowadays I mostly stick with random just for the banter, and that's always.
Oh yeah.
That's the most entertaining. But the characters I'm best at and who I say I would main are Young Link, because I can spam projectiles. It's the way. Corrin, just love the reach. It's always satisfying. Quite an interesting, unique Fire Emblem character as well. And then the most recent set, Pyra and Mithra, because not only are they the characters I most wanted, they are so badass in the game. So
I was going to say they're really fun, and Steve is always a fun one too. Like both of those guys are ones that I like to pick up just as often as the mains nowadays because they're so good.
Yeah, everyone's so good, really. I mean, that's the reason I pick random. There's so many great characters in the game. It's definitely the most balanced Smash has ever been. But sticking with Smash, our next question asks, who do you think the new Smash DLC characters will likely be? And who do you want them to be? Now, we sort of talked a bit about Smash in a while, but we haven't actually laid up straight predictions down since last year. So first of all, Kye, just 2 characters. Who do you think they will be?
God, honestly, it's so unpredictable at this
point.
It
is,
like,
yeah.
Because like Pyro and Mithra, I was one of the people who thought like that sort of thing was going to come eventually. I thought we were going to get a Xenoblade 2 rep eventually, so that didn't surprise me in that way. But at this point, I literally have no idea. Like, I think it could be anyone.
Yeah, it's so difficult to guess. I think it
actually is going to be. Yeah.
Do you have any names? You have a gun to your head. You have to pick.
Are there any new like series that have come out recently? I don't know.
Not really. I guess I'll give you my 2 actually. I guess I'm going to go with one. I'm not sure this is necessarily likely, but I'm just gonna predict it anyway. Master Chief. I think Nintendo and Microsoft are very chummy, and it would be I mean, I'm not a Halo fan, but that would be incredibly hype for a lot of people. And I think
You think it'll happen, yeah?
I don't necessarily think it will, but at this point when it could be anyone, I think it's plausible. So I'm going to predict Master Chief, and I would have said Crash Bandicoot. I kind of feel like that ship sailed, So let's go with a character from the Tales series for another Bandai Namco rep, because they have only got Pac-Man.
Okay.
That...
Oh man, I don't know. I think one cheap route they could always go is just like a new Pokemon rep. They could just be like, hey, here's Cinderace or something.
Yeah.
I don't think they do I feel like Cinderace would be the best starter to choose from Gen 8, but because Incineroar's also there, that I feel like they probably won't. So
yeah,
maybe not a Pokemon rep, but I feel like they could always just do that as like a cheap shot. Apart from that, though,
I can move on if it's causing you too much pain, Kai.
No, I'm committed to this. I've got to think now.
2 hours later.
True. God, who else is Nintendo particularly chummy with at the moment? That's
Waluigi.
That's a question.
Will it happen? It
no.
could. It could happen.
I actually think it could. I do genuinely think that could happen. I think maybe they might add Impa, to be honest. I feel like
that's
they
a
could
good
add
one.
Impa after Age of Calamities.
Not bad.
Maybe.
And
We'll see.
And the other question was, who do you want them to be? So if you could pick anyone, regardless of realism, 2 people, who would it be?
I'm not that picky. I feel like the one I want that is semi-realistic is Pea Shooter. I've always thought Pea Shooter from Plants vs Zombies would be a good one.
Yeah.
Of course, like just having like Ryan Time in Smash would be amazing, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be realistic. Wildest dreams. For me, my thoughts have actually changed from when we last made it. The 2 that I'd want, I'm going to throw out a third. I would also like Astral Chain rep, the Howard twins. Obviously, you'd be able to switch between them in the different alts, but they would be awesome. But for 2, I'm going to pick Amaterasu from Okami. Would be awesome, and I think it's maybe not realistic, but plausible. One that's 100% not happening. I really want Sakuna from Sakuna of Rice and Ruin in the game, because that game really surprised me earlier this year. It was so much fun, and I think she could have a very interesting moveset. She uses what's called the Divine Raiment to basically zip around enemies, and her maneuverability would be really interesting. Not to mention the stage. I'm not gonna lie, half the people I want is because less the character, more so the stage and the music. So, but they would be my picks, even though they're not happening. So big sad. But our next question here is: any particular game you're most looking forward to this year? Yeah, interesting.
This year?
Yeah, because, I mean, there's games I'm looking forward to, like Breath of the Wild 2, but that's probably not coming out this year, or we don't know it is at least, so I couldn't pick that. We don't know of too many more. I guess Skyward Sword HD is a big one for me, because I'm a huge fan of Skyward Sword. It's tied for my favourite Zelda game. Do you have any standouts, Sky?
I don't think so. I mean, again, Breath of the Wild's like next year, isn't it, releasing, or is that...
We don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
We have no clue.
As for this year, I don't feel like there's anything I'm looking forward to that I can remember. I guess Miitopia's coming out very soon. That might even be out by the time this video is posted. Or close to it, at least.
Yeah, we'll be getting there.
That's about it, though. I don't know. I'm kind of cool with everything right now.
Yeah, we don't know too much. I'd imagine if you ask us after E3, it might be a very different question. A very different answer, absolutely. Even. So we'll have to... Yeah. We'll probably talk about that after E3. It should be interesting. And our next question here, it's the age-old classic, Kai. Xenoblade 1 versus Xenoblade 2. Which one do you prefer and why? But to be fair,
not this question again.
At least this is an appropriate place to answer it, rather than a Twitch chat. But it's an interesting comparison, though. Which do you prefer?
Who asked this one? I want to shun them.
I know who it is, but I won't tell you.
So I don't particularly like this question purely because of how often it comes up and how often people do compare the games, because I don't think they should be compared necessarily.
I think it's a matter of, it's interesting to talk about why I compare them, as long as it's not, because they do have strengths.
It's just annoying because I hear this sort of thing every single time I'm like looking up anything about forums or the games or anything like that. it shows up every single time. So I don't mind it being talked about on and off, but it's like, man, this question comes up all the time. I guess my answer to it would be that they're both different games. That's a simple answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the thing of the internet, isn't it? It's like, can never enjoy both. So it's not a bad discussion to have. It's just the internet ruins everything like it does. And it turns it to, if you like Xenoblade 1 more, you're an idiot. If you like Xenoblade 2 more, you suck. You know, it's... That's the problem with it mostly. But I think it's still a good point of conversation, though, about just the differences between them.
Yeah.
And they are interesting. I think that is... I agree with you overall. I don't have a real favourite. I like them both for what they do differently. But if I had to pick one, it sort of changes. I would have said Xenoblade 2, but Definitive Edition really made it a lot closer with the quality of life improvements it made and sort of the tweaks it's made to the gameplay. That really make it more polished. But yeah, so that makes it much closer. I still think my heart might go out to Xenoblade 2, and that's probably more on a personal level of having met so many friends through it. And the gameplay clicked with me a little bit earlier. Also, I was better at JRPGs when I played Xenoblade 2 than 1. But really, they're both fantastic. You know, it's not...
Right.
And Xenoblade 1 has Ryan, so, you know, there's...
The meme potential is there.
Always there.
I guess, like, again, I wouldn't want to say, like, I particularly have a favourite, nor do I think one is better than the other. I think that definitely the first game is both excels and is based around its events in the game, you know, everything that takes place, the storytelling, the foreshadowing. It's much more focused and perfected in its storytelling, whereas Xenoblade 2 is much more focused and excels in its character development. I feel like and both of them do an excellent job at world building. Again, you could say that's one of the best features of both, and music and everything else, but definitely, like, the first game is just much more storytelling oriented, whereas the second game is character oriented in my eyes.
Yeah.
So they're both just better in their own ways. And in terms of gameplay, I think that Xenoblade 2's is of course like far more detailed. So it just depends on whether you prefer that or not to decide which one you'd think is better.
I mean, the great thing is they're both on the Switch, so you can play both.
Yeah, just play both. Just play both.
Always.
Simple as that.
And our next question here is from Sam, the one and only, who asks, what's something new you want to do with the channel over the next year? See, I told you.
This is our thumbnail boy, Sam.
This is our thumbnail boy. He's just trying to get us to do more work. God damn it, Sam.
God, and now he's trying to get it recorded too, so that he holds us to it.
Exactly. No, he's alright.
He's a sneaky one.
He's alright. But what's something new you want to do? Now, to answer that question, I mean, I don't really have any specific answer here, but because this is basically my answer to this is just something new. The new thing I want to do is something new, which sounds dumb, but what I'm thinking with this is, I think, you know, up until now we've done a lot of sort of, you know, podcasts, we've done gameplay videos, which you get a lot of on the internet. I think it'd be interesting to try and find a bit of a niche for us and try and find something unique that other people aren't doing. And I'm not entirely sure what that could be yet, because I haven't honestly reached that point yet where I can think of something to do. But I think in general, that's just what I'd like to do this year, is maybe by the end of the year having tried experimenting with a different type of video that isn't common and see where that takes us. I'm not sure what that is yet, but it could be interesting. What about you, Guy?
Yeah, I think going in a new direction, like, well, of course, keeping what we already do there, adding like a new variety of things that's truly unique would be good. But of course, it's so hard to come up with the ideas for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just again, like doing something new would be really good, because we've already done like gameplay, we do our discussions. On my personal channel, which again I'm not going to touch for like quite a time still, but when I do eventually get back to that, I want to make some more like Xenoblade focused videos personally, like Xenoblade 1, foreshadowing, etc, etc. But as for this channel, yeah, I'm again same boat as you, like just something new that's really niche would be good.
Absolutely. I also think I sort of mentioned this earlier, but I want to try and get more of our friends on the podcast to talk with us. More guests would be awesome. If we've already started, we of course we had Sam on for the Trine series and the Game of the Year discussion, and we had Tom on recently, so hopefully that'll keep going. Send in your resumes.
Go for it.
The next question here asks, what kind of new features would you like to see in Breath of the Wild 2? And what old features would you like to see return? And that's from Jaden. So thank you, Jaden. That's a good question.
Breath of the Wild 2. Well, we don't really know too much about it yet, but I
yeah.
feel like it's going to have more story focus, and that's something I'm definitely going to be happy with, I think, is more story.
Yeah, I think story focus, and I think maybe mixing in general a few elements of traditional Zelda, like dungeons, like outside of the Divine Beast, but actual like unique looking dungeons. Not to knock on the Divine Beast, because they were very cleverly designed and they were fun puzzles. But I think it'd be cool to get more stuff along the lines of the Fire Temple and the Forest Temple, the Ancient Cistern from Skyward Sword, more unique locations.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest one. And I think it's going to be a hard thing to keep what makes Breath of the Wild unique in its exploration and freedom, whilst introducing more traditional features. But I kind of want to see them give it a bit of a try. That's my main one.
Yeah.
I think, but as for what they keep, like I said, I want them to keep what makes Breath of the Wild special. The fact that you can discover new things constantly, the fact that you can go anywhere at almost any point. I think they can't lose that either with it being a Breath of the Wild sequel. Otherwise, it becomes something different that isn't Breath of the Wild. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they keep that balance. Have you got anything else, Kye?
Yeah. Not off the top of my head. I just suppose, I really like the physics system in Xenoblade.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Xenoblade. Breath of the Wild 1. I really would like if they kept the same physics system in the combat and everything, because the amount of potential with that was insane. So that's another thing I really want to see return.
Yeah, I think one idea that's been thrown around a lot is playable Zelda somehow. I don't know if that's realistic, but that could be awesome. I mean, I wouldn't be mad about that.
That'd be a mad one. Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to see something. We've seen so little, so hopefully we'll get more of a tease. And again, this will be another question we'll probably have more to say on after E3 once we hopefully get a bit more information on the game. Looking forward to it either way. Our next question, we're almost at the end here, is once again from our graphic designer Sam. Here we go, Kye. You're going to like this one. What is your goal with the channel over the next year, and where do you hope to be at the end of the year?
Right.
He's just trying to make us work. God damn it, Sam.
That's
a good question.
Thing. Yeah, it's a good one, because with channel growth and stuff, it's always, I've heard over and over again, the best thing to do if you want your channel to grow is set goals for the year. I've never personally been one to do that, but I get the reasoning. I just think carry on what we're doing, and then as we've said, just add more unique stuff to it. Let's just keep it going and up the ante. That's the main goal. Yeah.
I think it sort of ties into what we said for our last question. But I'm honestly not much of a massive planner. This is all. I mean, this isn't meant to be a real work. It's just chill. Let's just record some shit and have some fun, But at the same time, you sort of do have ideas of what you want to do. So I think I'd like to, by the end of the year, like I said earlier, have interviewed, or not interviewed necessarily, maybe, but to have had more people on the show, to get more opinions going, and, like you said, to do more kinds of content. So I think maybe by the end of the year, I would have liked to have figured that out, what new sort of content that could be. Maybe something else to intersperse between the main podcast, a new type of content. We'll see if we achieve that. Oh, also,
my main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody. That's the main goal.
Then I need to find a new co-host. That's more work. Well. you make it hard on me, Kye. You do. It's
what can I say?
It's a speciality. But we do have one final question here, and this is from Julian, who asks, "Can you give me a shout out?" No. So that's the end of it. No, I'm kidding. Tell you what, Julian, just because it's the 1 year anniversary, shout outs to Julian. Go on, Kye.
Big man. He's lean, he's mean, he's here on the screen. I mean, he's probably not on the screen because be a bit weird to have a picture of this guy, but big
Well,
shout outs.
Yeah, I can see what I can do. Yeah, I will admit I did. I did have to Google the name Julian just to make sure it wasn't like the name of some sort of serial killer and we were being pranked, because I didn't want to shout out a serial killer or something. But we're safe.
Okay. All right.
But that is the end of the video on that lovely note. So thank you to you all for submitting your questions. We got through quite a lot here, so
We really
yeah, very
did.
pleased with the results there. And yeah, so thank you for submitting them, and thank you for watching us throughout this past year. And please do stick around for the next year to come. We will have plenty more content, like we said. We'll continue with our gameplay series, reactions to Nintendo news. Hopefully some more kinds of content coming out soon as well. And you can of course find that on YouTube if you're on here. We're also on Spotify and other podcasting sites under the name BunchaJokahs. BunchaJokahs. We spell it that way because we're unique. Also, that's how Ryan says it, and he's our god. But
Yep.
yeah, so please stick around, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.
Bye.